Hello and welcome back to another episode of Dear Octo featuring the Disgruntled Octopus. A big thank you out to all those that watched yesterday's episode. It was greatly appreciated. It went a lot better than I was expecting, to tell you the truth. By all means, put in the comment section below what you thought of it, if you enjoyed it, if you didn't enjoy it, and potentially how often you want it ran. Because I'm quite open to running this show, every night of the week or 5 nights of the week, or even potentially 3 nights of the week. I just obviously don't want to oversaturate you with the octopus. So a big thank you for all those that you tuned in yesterday, and hopefully we see you back for the second episode and more to come. Like I did mention quickly yesterday, is that the purpose of this show is not to point fun or make fun of people that are asking questions, especially new resellers. They're a bit apprehensive. And let's face it, we're all there at one stage. We didn't know all about eBay. We don't know all about eBay now. And this provides an opportunity for me to go through Facebook groups, Reddit posts, Discord groups, YouTube lives, and all these different things, or even YouTube comment sections, just to pull out those questions that may necessarily been not answered or not answered correctly, or even potentially, a bit of flack thrown at the person that's asked the question. So the purpose of this is just to strip the names away, make it a bit of anonymous, and then obviously I'll answer the question to the best of my ability. By all means, don't take everything I say to gospel, because it might not necessarily be correct. I'm going to give you the advice and the knowledge to the best of my ability. Like I said, I'm not going to give you false information, but it necessarily mightn't be up to date, especially depending on when you watch this video. But we'll reach out with today's question. So we've had a viewer reach out with, Dear Octo, do you have a return set on your store? I've turned them on, but I don't get the option if I want the item back. If I get a return, does that mean I have to pay postage both ways? Signed, an ill-tempered Seabass. Well, thank you very much, ill-tempered Seabass, for reaching out with your question. Before I get into the crux of your answer, I'll put 2 things out there first. There is no such thing as no returns on eBay. In certain circumstances, eBay will force a return on you, and you can't do anything about it. So if you want my advice, I would, at the very minimum, for those new and probably seasoned resellers as well, is have a 30-day buyer pays return period. That will probably help you in the algorithm if you believe in that superstition, and alternatively, and also give it a bit of buyer confidence as well. So you're obviously standing behind your product and you're offering a return period. And secondly, look at in your store and looking across your niche as well, is to what you can do to minimize returns or minimize returns from happening. And like I said before, is that returns are going to happen regardless. Returns are a part of the e-commerce business. I'm losing my voice. Regardless if you sell on eBay, you sell on your own website, Amazon, Mercari, or all those different options, Depop, and all those different things. There is fail safes in place for a return period, regardless if you like it or not. So, for example, if you're a clothing seller, don't necessarily just go off what the sizing tag says in the garment. It might say extra large, but when you do the measurements, it might come up as a large because it's shrunk in the wash, or vice versa. Someone that had it previously might have stretched it out. The best way you would do that is obviously provide the measurements in the listing description. And also what Grumpy Granny does is she actually has a little ruler there, and she takes a photo of the ruler with the measurements there. So I suppose in that situation, if the buyer reaches out and says, hey, look, this clothes doesn't fit me, you've got grounds to say, hey, well, no, the description had the measurements, the photos had the measurements. By all means, you can send the item back. However, you'll need to pay for the return postage. So that negates, and especially if you're in a clothing niche, for example, where I suppose depending on your niche, I would suggest, adding the plus post model. So you're not necessarily offering free post, because if you're offering free post, you need to provide that back to the buyer as well when you do a return period, process a return. But if you obviously do the plus post, and then the buyer buyer pays return. Well, there's a lot of returns in that sentence. You're not on the hook, so you're only refunding the actual purchase price of the item. So you're not losing the initial postage, and you're not losing the postage for the item to come back as well. That's if you're not at fault. That's for change of return ones. Going back, if you have an item not as described, so you might hear INAD thrown around, that basically means that you haven't described it, or the buyer said that it's not as described. So you might, for example, tell people that I'm an orange octopus, and when they receive it, they get a yellow octopus, for example. Then obviously that they'll reach out to eBay and say the item's not as described. then what will happen is that you'll be responsible for the return postage and also the outlay postage as well. So you'll pay for the full thing. So you want to try and minimize those. And how you minimize INADs is that be honest with yourself. Don't put down this item's fantastic, it's like brand new and all these different things. And when you look at it, it's falling apart. If you're selling books and there's pages missing, or if you're selling DVDs and there's a lot of scratches and all these different things, that you want to be truthful to yourself. eBay gives a bit of guidance into regards to what levels they are, like brand new, like new, very good, etc. All those different things. Have a read through those and see where they actually fit into the situation and what your item is. That will obviously, if you do that, obviously put out the item what it is. By all means, don't say that it works if you haven't tested it. If you have tested it, it doesn't work. Don't try and clean it and say it works and hope for the best and all those different things. And like I said, make sure you photograph flaws and you list any flaws in your description, because then that will obviously reduce your returns and all those different things. Because fingers crossed, and this is not in every situation, the buyer will hopefully know what they're getting. So make sure you picture it all those different things, and that's how you can reduce returns in that period. So getting to your question, don't get the option of wanting the item back. That's because you automatically accept returns. So if you accept returns on eBay listings, so what I said was that eBay, so the buyer pays, for example, returns. When they put in a return request, eBay automatically approves that. Then they go through the process of sending them a return label or all these different things, or vice versa. If you don't accept returns, what happens? The buyer can actually reach out. They can initiate the return process. So you can either give them a full refund, you can reject the refund. Reject the return, accept the return with a full refund, so you don't get the item back. Offer a partial refund, so you give them a percentage of the price back, but they keep the item, or accept the return. So you can work out with the buyer, and often in that case, eBay will require you to send the buyer a label. They've got about 30 days. Or might be a bit less, but I'll have to ask my Koro sensei here because he's my policy octopus, as to how many days they do. So when they open a return period, it's not instantaneous. They don't have 7 days to return the item. They've got like 20 days before they even have to launch the item. So you need to be very aware of that as well. And depending on your account health and how old your account is, the funds for that sale may be frozen. So basically, eBay will pause those funds, or they'll put those funds on hold to prevent, obviously for that, to cover that expense of that item coming back. Once you get a bigger store, that doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen as often, depending on the price, all those different things. So going back to your next part of your question, if you get a return, do I have to pay a return postage? And like I said, if you charge for postage on top, so if you're selling, for example, I'll throw Koro Sensei under the bus, and if I listed him for $9.95 plus $10.90 postage, then I send him out, and the person gets him, and he's like, well, no, I wanted a green one for some reason. I'm sending it back. Okay, no worries. They pay the $10.90 postage on the way back, and when I refund them, I'll only refund the item cost of $9.95. So they won't get their initial postage, and all those different things as well. And when you get into your returns as well, I'm not going to go too much into it here, but there are options for you to withhold a certain percentage of the return. If you send a brand new, Xbox game, for example, that's factory sealed and all those different things, and it comes back and it's all scratched and it's open and it's been clearly used, you can withhold a percentage of that that return funds as well. But you can go onto eBay and have a look at that. I'm not going to go into that for now, but hopefully that answers your question, ill-tempered Seabass. But thank you very much for reaching out, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.